Hi, Dad. I am making this for you. This is in dedication to my father, who recently, at the urging of his daughter and his best friend, decided to pick up the free copy of Civilization 6 that was being offered uh, by, of course, now I'm forgetting the name, uh, but he got the promotional copy of the base game. And admittedly, he's somebody who has never played Civilization before. It's very overwhelming if you have no idea what's going on, and the advisors are not very helpful. So I have decided to embark on a short little tutorial series for my father. I love you, Daddy. So what I have done at this beginning here, and I will just also mention that I will do these in short little 15-minute increments so they can just go up on YouTube very easily. Um, and then there's no obligation to sit and watch a full game to know what's going on. Just little tidbits at a time. And I'm going to start actually here on the main screen. I have gone through and I have disabled all of my DLC, all of my expansion packs. I have just the base game here, so that way it should be the same as what my father is looking at. And we could very easily jump right into single player and get started and show you how that works, but I'm actually going to start one step earlier and go to the game options into game and just kind of walk through what my settings are here in case things look differently to how they are on your game. This might be one of the reasons why. These first two here in quick combat and quick movement, that's just an animation thing. I have quick combat disabled because I like to see the animations of the people fighting each other. And quick movement, I currently have enabled, but I will go ahead and disable this for this tutorial, which allows you, you see the people walking, as opposed to they'll just kind of teleport to where you tell them to go. Auto end turn, I have this disabled, so that way I can make sure that if I get to the end of the turn, or what it thinks is the end of the turn, there aren't any other things that I can take that moment to go, okay, wait, I also wanted to go negotiate with another civ, or I wanted to check something out, or move some pieces around. Whereas auto end turn, I have to remember to do that before the last movement, which I can't always be expected to do. So I make sure I have this disabled. At the same time, I mean, I don't know, but city ranged attack turn blocking is actually a good thing to have enabled. When you are under attack, and your cities have walls, they can actually attack nearby units. But if you have this disabled, you have to be aware that that's possible. The game won't be like, hey, your city can attack. If you have this enabled, it'll say, hey, your city can attack before you go on to the next turn. Tutor disables achievements. I do achievements, so I have this disabled. You can probably turn that off. Auto download additional content disabled. I have my advisors disabled. There are different levels of that. New to Civ 6, and then the expansions. Yours may have been on Civ 6. Or just new Civ, I don't know. And then this is just auto-saving stuff. You can leave those as the default. I tend to keep my game. I don't let it change time or animate the time of day, so I uncollect that. Otherwise it gets dark and it gets hard to see things, but that's just an effect. And then anything else over here in graphics and audio and interface, you can leave those as defaults. But pretty much the quick combat, quick movement, auto end turn, and city ranged attack are some things that you might want to check on to make sure you're seeing everything that's happening and you're not skipping when you don't want to. So we'll confirm those and go back. And then we'll head into single player and we'll create a game. Now on create a game, there's things to know. So we can pick, obviously here, this is a standard. I can't change this because I don't have any of my expansions. Otherwise I could pick what rules I was using. Difficulty, I'm going to go down and click Settler because I'm going to walk you through an easy mode game just so we can learn the basic mechanics of it. Game speed, I pick on standard. This is the one where I say if nobody wins after 500 turns, 500 turns is the final turn. Final turn in quotes. That's standard. So I keep that there. Continents. I tend to pick continents. You can't really have too much of a random, like, go ahead, tell me whether it's lakes or continents or anything like that. But basically continents, um, small continents if you want more. The major three that you can flip around for just a random world would be continents, which is the default, Pangea, which is one large landmass. Generally in continents, one or two, depending on how many civilizations you have, one or two will be on one island, and then the other two will be on the other island, or 3 and 3 or something like that. With Pangea, they'll all be on one, so you don't necessarily need sea travel to find everybody. Small continents, or is like just an overall island one, fractals and things like that, where everybody probably will have more or less their own island. You might have a couple sharing a big island, but something like that. So we'll go with continents for now. It's just kind of a basic standard one. And I tend to pick the standard map. It defaults to small, which is 6. Standard is 8. But I'll do a small for now, just to keep with that. And then these are all the base game standard leaders. We can go in and read what they each do. And depending on what kind of victory you want, you might want to pick a certain thing, but considering we don't really know what all this means, you don't know what's good, what's bad, what any of this stuff means, and you're just learning, we'll just go with a random leader. Doesn't really matter. So we'll go ahead and jump in. We've got about maybe 5-6 minutes left in this little intro session, so we'll jump right in and just get kind of an overlay of the UI, and then I'll stop my recording and go on to the next one. Will be placing our cities and things like that. So it looks like we got Spain. If you have all your audio turned on, I have my voice audio turned off because after a while, I'm sorry, Sean Bean got a little annoying. So I just turned all my voices off. I turned all my animations off as well. That's up to you. That's in some of those graphic and audio options. The thing with Philip, he gets Inquisitors, can remove heresy 1 extra time. So if you're doing religion, obviously his is going to be very religion focused. Combat units have a bonus of +4 strength against players following other religions. So again, if you're focusing on religion, there's some bonuses there. May form fleets and armadas earlier than usual. So usually in order to get naval groups, you have to have a certain technology. He can do it faster. And then he gets different bonuses for his trade routes. So trade routes between multiple continents receives bonus gold, and bonus food and production for routes between your own cities. You get a unique land unit, the Conquistador, and a unique improvement. And those are just the things that are special to Philip. So when we see those things come up, those aren't going to be continued if you got somebody else. So we'll go ahead here and click our begin game. And I'm not even going to start play yet. I'm just going to kind of walk through what our interface is here. So all the way up in the top right hand corner, right here, we start the game at 4000 BC. Turn 1 of 500. This just lets you know what the real time is. Because once you get into the game and start figuring things out, you could lose your time a lot. Here's our Civpedia. I know you explored that. Not very successfully because it's hard to search through it. Oftentimes Google can be more reliable. This gets us back to the menu. Here is Philip. As we meet other civs, they will pop up here. And what we can see from this little pull down, we can click on him. It gives us a summary. If we clicked on somebody else, it would let us open our trade dialogue with them. These other things that we see down here, the first one, I'm not just because I can't hover over it, I can't hold it. which I'm not actually sure what that first one is. Is it your? It might probably is your score. Um, and then the next one is how strong your military is. So if you're getting ready, you want to know, do you have enough military to defend yourself or to go conquer other people? You can look how much you have versus other people to know if you're stronger or weaker. How much science per turn, how much culture per turn, so you can gauge where you are against other people, how much gold you currently have, and how much faith you currently have. And so you don't have to look here for that for you because you have it other places except for the military. This is the only place you can really see what your military score is. Everything else you'll find up here. This is so this first button here is your world rankings. And this will kind of give you a showdown of all the different types of victories. At the base game, you can have a science victory, a cultural victory, a domination victory, a religious victory, or a score victory. And this is the one where at turn 500, whoever has the highest score wins. So things that count towards those points, how many civics you've researched, how big is your empire, how many cities do you have, how many great people have you unlocked, how strong is your religion, how much technology have you researched, and how many wonders do you have. This is how many cities and how many hexes that you actually control. For science, you have to launch a satellite, land a human on the moon, and establish a Martian colony, which are all things that you research well later on. And so this one shows you what you have to do to earn each of these points. And once you've accomplished all three of these, and you can see how everybody else is doing. And these are the steps. So in order to launch an Earth satellite, you have to build a spaceport and research rocketry. In order to do the moon landing, you have to have done this and then research satellites and so on and so forth. And so there's a whole bunch of projects you have to research to do this one, and then you complete that one, you win science. Culture victory, I'm not going to go into too much detail with all of these. This one's pretty complicated. I can explain that later if we decide to go for a culture victory. Domination, basically how many other capitals do you control, and religion, how many other cities are following your religion. And then over here, these are reports if you're interested. I hardly ever use these. Tell you your yields. Some people spend a lot of time looking at this stuff. I generally don't. So if I end up using it in the game, I'll tell you why, but generally I don't use it. Down here, this is just your button to tell you what you need to do to advance your turn. Here is your map, and you only see what you've discovered so far. Everything else is covered by Fog of War. We have here different lenses that you can turn on for different things. I'll show you more of, right now these lenses won't do much because we've only discovered one continent. This is the same view we see when we'll do a settler, and I'll explain that next time when we actually place our settler. Map options, do you want to show, this is a good key one, do you want to show yield? So this tells you how much is in each hex, and I'll turn that off for now, but we'll talk about it next one. Tax, I'll explain tax when I use it. Map search, I've actually never used that. You can toggle the view, is it easier to look at it kind of real or cartoony? And then do you want a full screen map? And then X out. I never ever use that. And right now the stuff we've got up here is our tech tree, which I'll walk through as we decide how to do it. Our civics tree, same sort of thing. And our great people. And I'll talk about these and explain these as we go on. So that's kind of an intro. Oh, and then so here's our science per turn, our culture per turn, our faith per turn, our current gold, and then how many per turn, current faith, how many per turn, and then envoy influence. And I'll talk more about envoys and all that kind of stuff when we finally get there. So that is an introduction to the UI. Next episode, I'll actually decide where we're going to place this guy and how to get started. All right. Till next time.